What's up guys, it's Gary. So in this episode we're going to take that Craftsman garden tractor GT5000 we got. I'm going to do a couple of basic mods just to show you guys exactly how easy it is to turn one of these mowers into a little bit of a fun machine. Nothing too crazy, no crazy fabrication in this episode, just basic mods. So let's take that thing, and here's a little teaser of what it looks like now. That's why I'm really far away, it's a teaser. So let's get into this thing. So there's a few basic changes we're going to make to have a little fun with this machine. We're going to put larger front tires on it. We're going to do a throttle pedal and a governor adjustment. I'm not going to eliminate or bypass the governor on this one just yet. And we are going to set it up with a handbrake. Now, one thing that you would expect me to do is make it a little faster with a pulley change, but in this episode we are going to stick with the stock pulleys as we're just going to be going and doing a little bit of off-roading in the woods. Another couple things we're going to be doing is we're going to do something about that hideous looking burnt and melted hood, and there was also an unexpected change to the exhaust system. So let's get to work on this thing, see where we get. There she goes. There it goes. Oh, yeah. What a frickin' mare of the night. There she bloody goes. Two. There she is. All right. Now, take this guy. There she is. Has a valve stem. What am I thinking? The other one didn't have a valve stem because it was a tube. It's completely wasted. Where the heck did I put the rag? Son of a... Yep, she's pretty bad. I don't know, for whatever reason I didn't even notice that crack at first. Well, before I started dismounting it. And then after I dismounted it, I noticed it, but... Oh, it's gonna need a tube. Alright, well before I go through all the trouble of putting the tube in this, let me make sure this is even gonna work. So I got a little bit of space that I can add to this because it's a little bit spaced in. Oh dude, that's gonna work. I mean, I know some of you are watching going, yeah, I know, I've done that before, but that's freaking perfect. Well, that actually looks pretty sweet, doesn't it? That's not bad. I like that. Alright, so I ended up putting the tube in that. Man, what a freaking task getting that tube over that wheel. I've never seen a tube like that. I think maybe because the tube is probably about 10 years old, and so that leads me to the other one. So this tire still has air in it. I'm about to put the gauge on it. It feels like it's got a lot of air in it. I put the tubes in these tires probably 8 to 10 years ago. Now, of course, the other one was pretty much had air in it, but it was kind of flat, and the stem had pulled in. This one's still there and still has air. So let's see how much air it actually has in it still, after probably close to 10 years just sitting outside in the yard. Okay, it's got like exactly 10 psi, which is crazy because that's probably what I had in it, because that's what they're basically spec'd to have. Alright. Beautiful. Look at that. It clears perfectly. Look how much. So it was still good without the inside washers, but you know, now we got a mile of clearance. That's pretty good. It's excellent. All right, now I did a little bit of very minor crawling around on the rock wall down by the road next to the driveway, and I noticed there's a little bit of difficulty in having the clutch brake. Now, on my other machine, even before I did that other drum brake setup on it, the band brakes, I actually had the stock transaxle brake on a lever, and I liked that a lot. Now, I didn't do a whole lot. I actually used to do a lot more off-roading with that machine, and I always liked it that way, because you can independently operate the clutch, and if you get into a spot where you want to hold the machine, you're able to hold the brake with your hand while still clutching it and then manipulating the clutch to kind of, pull away if you're on a hill or on a rock or something like that. With the clutch brake, you can have it planted all the way down, and of course now you're stopped. But if you start easing out of the pedal to give it clutch, to engage the clutch and get the trans going, you start to roll back, if you're back, forward, wherever you are. If you're in a precarious situation like rock crawling or something and you go to let the clutch out, you might lose your position. So I want to try to get this stock brake on a lever as a hand brake. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try to do this as simply as possible. So you can see right there, that is the rod right there connected to the brake. So when it gets to here, it's braking. But now you can see we got beautiful access. We're going to pop that. I'm going to try to utilize the stock rod and linkage, but I do want to try to get some sort of lever action on the brake. I don't know if I want to completely commit to rendering this thing unmowable, but we do got to remember we have our deck rod here, or deck lever, so we might even be able to try to make that connect up to our brake. It's not exactly where I would want my brake, but this is a whole different machine than the other one, so with a stock seating position, that might actually be fine. Alright, check this out. This is gonna blow your mind. So of course we got the brake, right? Hard to see because of the sun, but the action for the brake is like that. See, it pulls forward on the brake. So I'm going to take the rod, I'm going to bend the rod down so it goes into here or here, probably here. That is the deck drop mechanism. So when you pull back on the deck drop lever, it will pull the brake. I'm going to have to put a return spring, a serious return spring on this somehow. But that's my plan. I'm going to try. So the old-fashioned lay underneath and go to the wide lens. So there it is. Just bent that by hand. Now I'm not so sure if I want it in this hole or this hole. This is the hole I said I was going to put it in because it actually fits in that hole really nicely. All right, so we bent this guy here. This is our deck linkage. The only difference between going to these two holes would be the travel, how far it pulls before it actually breaks. Now I did notice, I think we might want it in this hole because it does seem to have quite a bit of movement. What we have now is, of course, this is extended way back from where it was. You know, this used to be a spring on there, and then the nut was, that adjustment is like your pedal, you know, when it engages based on where your pedal is. So now, in order to take that up, like I said, I want to try to do this with minimal to no fabrication. So I found this little lightweight, super thin, it's just a little lightweight piece of pipe. So, said I'm going to do minimal fabrication. Well, if you have a grinder and you can cut something, I don't really consider that fabrication. So we're just going to cut the end of this off, and we're going to use this as a spacer and just put the nuts right back on here. And it'll pretty much just be a fixed adjustment at that point. We might be able to preload it a little bit with that adjustment if the brake has a lot of travel to it. Another thing we're going to have to deal with is how much travel this has based on where this is loaded up or preloaded. And of course, I'm going to leave that. That's the thing that sets your deck height minimum. Basically, when you drop your deck, you can set that to a minimum height, to whatever the minimum height you want. Because this is not like a lot of them where it just has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll have to figure out how much travel we have to what kind of activation we get, and then we have to deal with the button, because when you pull this all the way up, clink, it automatically locks into place. Now we could use that still as a parking brake. So I just have to kind of get it to a certain point where it works, where I have enough travel, and then have a return spring on it probably, because I'm probably going to need to put a return spring on this mechanism. And then we'll be able to figure out if we pull a little bit further, can we lock it? Likely I'm going to have, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. You know what I might do is I might just probably take this. I'm actually talking, I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't even know what I'm going to do about that yet. Right now, I just want to get it working. So I'm going to cut the end of that off. I'm going to put that on there and see if it actually works in any way feasible. All right, so I already got the washer that was originally behind the spring is there. So we'll go ahead and slide that guy on there. Oh, beautiful. Still got all the threads we need. So just put a washer on there like that. And the way this was set up was it had the, I don't know if I like that though. Yeah, that's fine. I'll just put it the way it was. It had the nylock on first, and then it had a jam nut on it. That's basically it right there. Let's get this out of here. So, look at that. Now, I can already tell it's really got quite a bit of travel. Oh, you know what though? Look at that, it works. Now it's not quite adjusted enough. Will I be able to get it out of there? Yep. There we go. Reversible. We could always put it back to stock, but we sure as heck ain't putting it back to stock. So that is out of our way now. There we go. Oh yes. Now we just need to figure out a return spring. I'm going to put the handle back on there too. But yeah, I mean, technically we have operational brakes right now off of our deck rod, or deck lever. Why do I keep saying rod? All right, here's what we're going to try for a throttle pedal. I think I showed this before. I do not know exactly what this was. It is a mower part. I don't know what it was off of and what its original function was. It's been adapted into a throttle pedal that was on another machine a friend of mine gave me. It's got nylon washers in between here. And on his, it was very similar setup to this. He just had stock floor pans and everything. He had a hole drilled in the frame, and he just had it bolted to it. Now, in this case, you know, I like to do the minimal things that I can do to make something work. So we're just going to take this bolt out, same bolt here. This is actually just bolting a cross member in there, it appears. I am just going to thread this in. So the bolt that was in here actually just threads in there. We're going to get it in there, put a nut behind it, tighten it up in a way. I probably put a jam nut maybe. I don't know. Basically, we have to keep it so that this still pivots, but that it tightens that down. So, all right, so here's how we're doing it. I got a lock nut on this long bolt. So now we got that set to where it's perfect. It's not going to bind up. And then that is just going to thread into our existing hole. Oh yeah, that's like pretty much perfect. Look at that, that's pretty stiff, that's perfect. It's not gonna bind up, and it has like no play. All right, so I stole this cable off of my little snapper push mower, and frankly the push mower doesn't even really need a cable. You just go down to the engine and throttle it up. I don't want to kill the cable or modify or render the original hand throttle cable useless. So I can always reverse it back to a hand throttle. So that's why I'm stealing that. Plus I think that one's maybe a bit longer. No, maybe not. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the travel that I'm getting from the original hand throttle cable here. Looks like maybe 1.5 inches or so. And then we'll try to duplicate that ability on the pedal. So it looks like at all the way off, you know, no throttle, we got about 2 inches of cable. So yeah, I was right on. That's almost exactly 1.5. Alright, now I got the engine side here set to full throttle. So we got basically our pedal all the way down. I'm probably going to leave a little bit, and if I have to put some kind of stop there, I will. But alright, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to commit. I'm going to drill a little hole right there. Is that where I want it? Yeah, because then we can go straight up like that. Come on, mother effer! Now we're talking. Now that got there. So now, theoretically, if that returns and it stays there. The only thing I don't like is it's a super short travel, but that's as good as it's going to get with this pedal. All right, check it out. So that spring might look ridiculously stretched out, but actually it was already like pre-worn out and stretched, so it's not as tight as it looks. But we do have quite a bit of tension on our setup here, and that's excellent, right? And then if you look over here, probably only needed the one, but I had the other one, so I figured I'd just double it up just to be sure. I don't want this thing sticking. And I lubed this up. These do have nylon washers in between here, and there's a lock nut on there as well, so I did loosen the bolt just slightly, barely at all. It's actually smooth. It works beautifully now. So we need to adjust the cable because we're getting movement, but we're not getting throttle. that's still the stock 3600 RPM. So there's a little adjustment down here, which basically just will push a little harder on the governor. It should give it a little bit more max revs. I messed with it the other day just by hand, and it's got a lot of adjustments. A little basically sets like a bolt and a nut. With it, it's a setting pretty much, and you can set it to push on the governor a little bit harder. There's also, by the way, an internal governor adjustment, but that's a whole nother subject. Basically, the way that it operates, how it works right now, means it's set correctly. So there's a way that you preset the governor so that it actually works properly, but that's not how you get more revs out of it. The revs are achieved by the linkage adjustments. Alright, so here's our adjustment right here. Flat head and a 5/16. Basically, you can see how far back the adjustment is. When you throttle it up, that guy right there pushes on this dude. So that screw, that bolt I should say, pushing all the way through, screwing it in, will actually give us more load, more push on our governor linkage, and it should give us maximum, more revs. All right, I went about halfway with the adjustment. Not happy running that high. Might have to readjust. So it's not happy revving that high. I wonder if I could readjust the governor to compensate. Huh. I don't know, that's interesting. Or, I wonder if I could just put the governor spring in a different location. Well, that kind of blows. Alright, let's try the lower hole. So, the spring for the governor, the main spring down there, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 holes. It was on the second, it was basically on the second from the top. Now I got it all the way in the bottom hole. See if it just runs away. Perfect. I should have showed you this before I put the heat shield back on, but you see the main spring on the governor arm down there. See, there's 4 holes. We were in the second to top. Now we're all the way on the bottom, and that made the difference. Smooth governor action, higher RPM. So it was fine before at the lower RPM. Once we turned our screw, which you can now see that screw, see how it's sticking out a lot further. So once we got our higher RPM adjustment, we needed to move that spring. Good to know. I'm not really that, I actually typically would just bypass the governor. So it's kind of cool messing with it like this to just get it to work for a little bit higher RPM, but still be operational. All right, well, I don't know what happened to the muffler here. Perfectly good sounding. Just the other video, I was like, oh, it doesn't have any loose baffles. No, it doesn't have any loose baffles. You don't feel anything, right? But now that I started it, of course, I must have hit too many RPM, because now it sounds like a tinny rattle box. You hear that? Stiff up here, tinny down here. Hey. tailpipe, or we'll add a little pipe if we want to make it a little quieter. I'm just gonna get it out of the way because I have an idea here. Oops, wrong way. This one only has one and it looks pretty beat up. Yeah, I knew it. That one's going to be stuck. Ow. Yes, I think I got it. Yep, how do you like that? All right, shifting power supply to welding mode, which just means unplugging the big light. How did that end up so far off from where I thought it was? Probably because you were planning on using one of these guys right here. Bloody heck, I didn't even hit record. So, got a little curved piece on here. Why don't I show you closer? Since we're in weld mode, you can't bloody see a thing that I'm doing in this bloody dark. Okay. Oh, so we tacked that in place and we got a nice big hole to fill. Nice little curvy guy there. So we'll take this dog and we will cut it accordingly. Probably so that just the end of that curve matches up to here. And then there you go. And the reason why I did the flange is because this engine in particular has studs instead of bolts holding the header pipes. The head pipes are held in with studs instead of a bolt, so it would have been near impossible to take everything apart if I didn't have it be modular like that and be able to separately take the muffler and slide it off of here. There. trying, this is the original heat shield that went down under here. Obviously it doesn't go there anymore, won't fit. So I was thinking about what's the simplest possible way I could use this heat shield without going crazy. And what I'm thinking about doing, it looks like it would be roughly where I need it. I think what I'm going to do is take this into the vise and just bend this so it's actually perfectly flat and straight with the rest of it. And then I'm just going to take and bolt it with another nut right to here. I think that'll actually land us right where we want to be. That's freaking beautiful. Straighten a little bit. Excellent. You know, I was done with this frickin' project already, and it had a little exhaust rattle, and we just spent all that time just so I could put a totally different muffler that may or may not sound good, may or may not rattle. I know it sounded good on another engine, so it should sound good. So, without further ado, let's crank her up and see how she sounds. I'm sitting over here messing with the hand throttle. I totally forgot that it has a foot throttle. Let it warm up a bit. Man, does it smell good. This thing runs really good. It smells exactly like a hot rod. It smells like the Good Guys car show. I don't hear a single rattle, at least not from the exhaust. Dude, that is freaking awesome. I can smell the paint burning. It's not even high heat paint. potential to sound good with an extra piece of exhaust, but I gotta say it sounds almost the best without anything connected to it. It's got a really nice, that did get pretty hot quick. It has a really nice deep sound to it. I don't know if you guys can really tell the difference as well as I can off camera, like in real life, but with nothing there, this is how it was on the opposed twin too. It has like a super deep sound to it, really bassy. All right, final thing I'm going to do here, get our front plate back on, because the hood mount goes here, and well, actually I just realized I could put the hood mounts on still, but I can get this back on no problem. Just trim this out right here. You are witnessing the power of street knowledge. Alright, seriously. Remember I was done with this thing, with the stock muffler? And we went through all that trouble just to make that exhaust so it would sound better. Now we've hidden the exhaust, which is fine because, you know, gotta have a hood and a front end to bash things into and all that good stuff. Plus, we can also hook to stuff to tow now from the front if we wanted to, or be pulled out of wherever from the front if we needed to. So this is, as you could probably tell, the back plate of a different tractor. So that is actually from an LT 2000 approximately tractor. In fact, that's another one right there, which is from, that one's from my original hot rod tractor, the rear tail section. Those actually are just bolted on normally. So we got a couple bolts holding on the side here. It seems like it's pretty strong, and then some nice big bolts holding it in the front. We didn't sacrifice our ground clearance too much. It's no lower than that piece right there. Well, like I said, I was already done with this thing. We did the exhaust. When you weren't looking, decided to do this, and now I'm trying to figure out how to get the hood on. And I'm basically going to, I have the hood. So I actually gutted the hood. I cut the sides off, as you saw, and we got rid of that melted front end. So we're just going to run the top part of the hood. I've been staring at it for a while, trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to get the hood on here. And I was thinking about coming down to like one of these holes and trying to have it hinged, but that would have involved welding something to the hood or possibly drilling something. So it would have been really probably a lot worse in the end, or taken a lot more time and a lot more patience and just fabbing that I didn't really feel like doing. So I realized that I had this threaded rod that not only that, there's a hole on either side here where the old hood mount actually used to go, the hood hinge used to mount to. This threaded rod screws right into it. I mean, literally the frame is threaded right there, and this is the same thread, the same size. So, right, we threaded those right in. Those are basically going to be our redneck hood pins, right? So, yeah, it might be a little floppy, but I feel like it doesn't really matter. I mean, these things are floppy anyway when they're normal. Like, stock hood hinge is a floppy thing anyway. So it's going to be a hood pin. It's going to bolt on in the front. A couple of nuts will just hold it down, and in the back it just slides into place like it normally would. So it all should just stay in place when I'm driving it. So now we just got to mark underneath the hood. So I'm going to stick the hood on there and see if I can get some marks going. Maybe I might use grease, or I might just try to scratch it into the hood. That is the difficult part, getting it to where it actually ends up, where you actually drill the holes where you want them. Alright, found my unibit. I already drilled a pilot hole. I always find it easier to start with a really small bit instead of starting with the unibit. It just seems to bite in. I have some good bits that have really good, starting abilities. This one wanted to wander all over the place, so. There's nothing hotter than the shard from a unibit. I don't know where the setting's going to be either as far as the nut goes. We'll figure that out after we drop it on. We don't want it to be too much of a hassle to put on and off either. Where is it? Right there. Oh yeah. Mainly because of the angle, we're going to have to go bigger. Because it's pretty close. It's actually right there. It wants to come through. But because of the angle of the hole and the angle of the rod being straight up, we need to go another size up. So there we go. We'll just do that. Ho-ho! I went a little bit too much on this side. Actually, on both sides. But it's perfect, because now it just, that's what you want right there. Dude, that is absolutely perfect. How's my height? Might be good. Maybe I go down a little bit. I think it might want to fall right in place right there. You can go down lower. Just want to get this line even, straight. It's pretty close, a little bit more maybe. Alright, there it is. Got some nylox on there. I'm going to trim them down just a little bit so they're not sticking up so far. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good. There we go. Actually, that actually kind of looks better, doesn't it? I kind of like it. Alright, I'm going to pull this guy out into the light. I got one more finishing touch. And when I say finishing touch, of course, I don't actually mean finishing, because things that I do are just never finished. I'm always going back and changing that stuff. So we got one more thing for this video that we're going to do. I'll put it that way. That was top gear, and there's a giant hole right here. All right, it might be hard to tell on camera. This is a lot more treacherous and steep than it looks. You can see down there is where we were going up, right there and turning. Don't know about that. Does it look any more treacherous in a wide angle lens? Not really, but I'm gonna try this. It's actually right where I'm standing. Right here is like really steep and all looks like slick stuff. So I feel like I could make it up in a like second gear high range, which is kind of the best scenario for me down there as well. I just don't know if when I get to here what's going to happen. I don't really want to go too fast past that stump, that telephone pole stump. So officially out of gas now. All right, let's go recover that thing. Belt came off. My mistake was turning too soon. I should have went that way more, because it's, again, you can't tell on camera, but it's much steeper right here than it looks. Alright, well, I think we're just gonna have to reposition. All right, well, I'm actually pretty pleased with the ability of this to pull it out. If I had somebody to steer this thing, we'd be good, and to operate the brakes. So now this is a little bit of a hill. I don't want to risk the GT running into the back of this, although it probably wouldn't damage it, but I don't want to have my two machines crashing into each other regardless. So now I'm just going to push this. It's going to basically free roll down the driveway, because it does roll fairly easily. And maybe if I have to, I'll hook it up down there, but I think I'm just going to basically push it back. So I'll meet you down there. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed that and you got something out of that, because you know, I just wanted to show you what you could do with one of these lawn tractors to put the minimum amount of changes into it and still have a little bit of fun. And I still want to pulley it and make it go a little quicker, and you know, I have a couple other plans for it as well, so we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Tell me what you think about the front end. I actually really like the way that came out. I love the exhaust, sounds great. And yeah, I mean, for just a basic stock mower, stock garden tractor, you know, it's a fun little off-road machine. And it'll pull anything, it'll tow anything, traction limited of course, and now we got a little tow point at the front as well. So yeah, so let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like the video. If you're not subscribed already, subscribe. And yeah, I mean, I'll see you guys next time. So thanks for watching.